All right, let's take the next call. Let's go to Jamie in Atlanta. Hey, Jamie, what's up?
Hey, how are you doing?
Rocking on to the break of dawn. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'll try to get to the point of my question. It's kind of a long one. I feel like I'm probably dealing with some postpartum depression and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband's a firefighter, paramedic, so he works 24-hour shifts and is gone, does it every 3 days. So I'm kind of left with the two kids. And sometimes I feel like I've just kind of silently been struggling with it and haven't really wanted to talk to him about it because, you know, he deals with a lot of stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids have been constantly sick for like 2 months. We're talking, you know, going to urgent care at least once a week, it feels like, going to the doctor, so things like that. So a lot of that's kind of fallen on me. And it's not like it's his fault or anything like that. It just more so falls on me.
Yeah.
And then here recently, he ran a very traumatic call that hit very close to home. And just as I kind of felt like I was ready to talk about how I was kind of drowning, you know, at home with the kids, he goes through this.
Yeah.
And, you know, he is always pretty good about, you know, tough calls. He can kind of put it in the back seat, if you will. He's followed away.
Hey, Jamie, talk directly into your mouthpiece for me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Perfect.
And
excellent.
then
Great.
I'm sorry. And then this call, he just lost it.
Yeah.
And cried. I can literally count probably on one hand the times that I've seen, you know, my husband cry.
Yeah.
So
what was the call?
I didn't know what to do.
You don't have to be gratuitous, but what was it?
A person down call.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I want to give away too many details.
Sure. No,
but
that's great.
It's just
So when you say that you think you are struggling from postpartum, what makes you think that? Because here's the deal. You may very well be. You just painted me a picture of a totally normal, completely fried and exhausted mom and wife of a first responder, which is very, very lonely and very exhausting. And then you throw in the pandemic and ER trips, and I'm cooked. So all of that, if you're at a point where you feel like you were standing over the precipice of a big giant hole, I would tell you you're exactly where you need to be. Like, that makes sense to me. But you may also have postpartum on top of this. Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, my baby was born in the height of the pandemic last year, to the point where I almost didn't have my husband there for delivery. So he's a year old now. So, I mean, I don't know if it still could be postpartum. I know he's, you know, they say it's usually like birth to a year old. But it's, I mean, I don't know. It's just some days. I listened to another podcast, the girl was saying, like, sometimes you just don't even like your kids. And that's kind of where I feel like I'm at, because they're it's just so exhausting to have everything just come at you, you know, left and right.
I know a lot of people my age who don't like their kids. They love them, but there's just seasons where it's like, whoa. Like, you know what I mean?
Like, can you please stay well, you know?
Yes. Here's what I want to do. I just want to get up and go to the bathroom in a room alone and not have a trail of little ducklings be like, Mom, hey, Mom, or just scream, right? So
they follow you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Everywhere.
And this is me projecting on to being a new mom. I don't know what that's like. I know when I just get home, they follow me around, and it's like 2 hours a day, much less, right? So, so here's the thing. I don't know if I've got more personal experience / professional experience in this one issue, this one thing, than what I'm going to describe to you right now, okay? When you are married to somebody, when you're in a relationship with somebody and you are struggling, and they have a profession, whether it's a doctor, a lawyer, a preacher, a first responder, a cop, an HR director, these days a teacher, and you know they are going through hard things, what makes sense logically is that I'm going to shield my stuff from them because I know they're having a hard time. And I don't want to burden them with my stuff because they're having a hard time. And so what happens is, and this happens all the time. Spouses end up drowning because they don't want to wave their hand in the air and let somebody know that they can't touch and they're in the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's what happens. The spouse is also drowning because it's not about the shared burden issue. It's about the connection issue. And so when you see a first responder get home and they just collapse in tears and you go, whoa, it's easy to see that as, oh, they're carrying so much trauma, seeing so much trauma that I can't tell them that I'm drowning too. And what I would suggest is the cure for trauma is connection. And so there's a difference between using each other as dumpsters, right? As trash bins.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to believe what happened today.
Yeah.
And there is something really valuable about saying, I am really hurting. How are you? Right? Not that you're going to solve each other's problems. And what first responders, especially firemen, EMS, and cops, they get home. I say that doctors and lawyers do it too. They get home and then wife, I'm just generalizing this. Wife says, hey, Billy and Tommy were the worst today. Well, you're not asking for how to solve that. You're just trying to connect with somebody. And they respond with, well, you should have done this and this and right. And because they know how to solve problems. That's what they do all day. And then you end up further apart than you started, right?
Yeah.
So here's what I hear. I hear two people desperate to reconnect. Two little kids will drive a wedge in the tightest of relationships just because two little kids crap everywhere. And they yell all the time and they don't sleep, right? And taking kids in and out of the ER all by yourself is a wedge between two people. I don't care how tight you are. And dealing with death and regimen and burning homes and car wrecks after another, that'll drive a wedge between people. And so when you've got little kids, you have to be hyper intentional about connection. When you work a job where you are dealing with secondary traumatic stress, other people's trauma for a living, you got to be hyper intentional about connection. Here's what that looks like in real time. Okay, Jamie? It looks like him coming home and not telling you about blood and guts. That's not it. It's him coming home and having 10 minutes to hold your hands and look you in the eye and say, whew, I saw some stuff that I shouldn't have seen today. Really hard. And you holding him, looking him in the eye, saying, tell me about how that feels in your body. And him being able to say, I don't know if I can breathe. And him being able to cycle through that experience with you, not with blood and guts, not, oh my gosh, my boss, but hey, I really had a hard day at work. My boss said some stuff that got in my soul. And then instead of you going, well, you should have said this, and that, you say, hey, tell me where that's showing up in your body. How's that feel? And him going, ooh, it's in my guts, right? Or it's in my chest. I can't breathe. Whatever that feels like. And then you being able to say, and being able to look at you and go, you look like you got hit by a bus. You're still beautiful and pretty, but whoa, you look like you're carrying a lot. And you say, yeah, today was a really hard day with the kids. It was hard. Mm-hmm. And you being able to talk about what your experience was. Not, and then, oh my gosh, and there was poop. But it's just being able to say, it was so hard, right? And so you're looking at places you can have connection. And so here's what I'll tell you. Here's how I've seen it happen. Here's how I've done it. And I've done it terrible in my house. Like what you're explaining to me, I've been through in my home. Okay. This is hard. Very quickly, I don't want to talk to him about it because I don't want to burden him. You know what that becomes? A secret. I'm just going to hold on to this. And then very quickly, that secret becomes are you doing all right? Yeah, I'm fine. And you know what that is? That's a lie. It's not true. And now all of a sudden, I've got deception between me and my wife. Yeah, and then
that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you know what's going to happen here is you're going to find yourself mad that you're having to lie, and you're going to blame him for that madness. And then I don't care who you are. I don't care what situation. You will find connection somewhere else. Period. Our brains it drives every function of our bodies, our heart rates, our brains, it drives everything. And you might find connection through gardening or making a list, or find connection through some social causes or your church, or you will find it somewhere else. But that's also where you find it with another drink and another drink and another drink, or some guy who is picking up their kid and just says, man, you are awesome, right? And suddenly it's like, oh, I haven't had anybody tell me I'm awesome in a while, right? It happens so inconspicuously, right? And so, and happens vice versa here on the other side too. Double back down on that connection, right? This is one of those moments where we have, I feel like, am I reading your mail here?
Kind of, yeah.
You're getting quieter and quieter.
Yeah.
I know I'm talking a lot.
No.
So here's what I'm telling you. And I'm telling everybody listening, you don't protect the person you love by shutting them off. You don't protect the person you love by keeping secrets. You do protect them by the details, by the blood and the guts, right? And the color of poop on your shirt. That's not always helpful, right? You don't protect them by keeping secrets. And secrets just end in ash every time. Or they end in 40-year-olds roommates, right? Where you have separate parallel lives. So here's the thing. Find a babysitter. Find one of his 24 cycles off. And I want you all to go out to breakfast somewhere together and just exhale. And tell him, hey, I miss you. And I know you miss me. And we are starting to drift. And we're going to do whatever it takes to double back. And it's probably going to mean y'all need to go see a marriage counselor, not because your marriage is in jeopardy, although it might be, I don't know. But you're probably going to need to go see somebody to learn some tools. And first responders are the best at first responding. They are not always the best at learning how to connect relationally, because they have to disconnect that part of their brain to respond to blood and guts every night. But that sort of response doesn't work inside a home. So go talk to a counselor, go talk to a pastor, but look your husband in the eye and say, hey, I feel like we're drifting and we're not going to do this because you mean everything to me. And he's going to look at you and say, you mean everything to me. And we're going to double down on reconnecting. And what I promise you, Jamie, I promise you, if you make reconnection your priority, it'll send you both on a journey. But man, your marriage will be stronger and more incredible. You've heard me say this a million times. You got to clear the deck. You got to but you got to sweep, excavate all of the old building out. You got 2 kids. You're exhausted. And you got to build something new. Build it intentionally together. And then, man, that foundation is so strong. Ain't nothing going to shake that. That's a lie. Something will shake it big time. And then you may have to knock it down and rebuild something else. But you're going to keep doing it together and together because you're doubling down on that connection. And back to the postpartum, if you are worried that you are thinking about hurting yourself, worried about hurting somebody else, you are going for days on end without sleeping, you are going for days on end with that rattling in your bones, call your doctor. Don't hesitate to do it. Right? Postpartum is real. It's terrifying. It is disconnecting for everybody. Call your doctor if you're worried about postpartum. Okay? Thank you so much for your call, Jamie. Man, what a blessing. Appreciate you so much.